those tests, you're going to use what I call the network testing toolbox. There are tools built into Windows programs. They're already there. They're in your PC right now, and you use these tools to do various kinds of network testing. And you get to those tools by the command line. And the command line is accessible in Windows XP by going to Start, clicking Run, and then typing in CMD, Charlie Mary David. And what that's going to bring you to is it's going to bring you to the command line. And the two commands, we're going to use three commands today. One is the ping command. The other one is the ipconfig /all command. And that gives us IP information. And we're also going to use traceroute. And I'm going to show you how to use that just a little bit later. But let's start off with getting to the command line. We go to Start, we go to Run, we type CMD, and you're going to see something like this. And for those of us who are old school, it's the DOS prompt. It's got the C and the colon and the slashes, and then your directories and your files and that sort of thing. It's a good old DOS prompt, but this is where your network testing toolbox sits. So it's here that the first thing we want to do, if we are walking into the installation cold, and we would do this during the survey process. We would come up, let's say it's Bob's Body Shop. We'd come up to Tony's computer. Hey, Tony, let me look at your computer there for a minute, buddy. You're going to go to the command line, and you're going to type ipconfig /all. Caps or lowercase, doesn't matter. Make sure you got the space there, though. And then it's going to give you information like this. Here you see where I did ipconfig /all to one of the PCs on my network. Let's look down here in the middle. And what do we see? We see the physical address. That's also the MAC address. And so it's 6 groups of 2 characters, letters and numbers. Then you see where it says DHCP enabled. It says yes. What does that mean? It means this computer got a dynamic address from the DHCP server. Then you see the IP address, 192.168.1.102. That's the IP address of the Ethernet adapter, my wired adapter. It also shows me the subnet mask and the default gateway. So right here, what I call the 4 magic keys, IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, and port numbers. Those are the things you got to program into any IP device. Doesn't matter if it's new or not. From this one test, we get 2 of our magic keys. The default gateway will be the same for every single device on the network. And I'm going to explain what that is a little later, but trust me, it's the same on every device. The subnet mask will be the same if it's Bob's Body Shop at least, and it's a small network. It'll be the same on every single device. This is a Class C default subnet mask, 255.255.255.0. So we got 2 of our magic keys right there. Now we look at the IP address, 192.168.1, and we say, okay, now we know that this network, this Class C network, is 192.168.1. Then for our devices, our cameras and our 2040 that we want to connect to this network, the first 3 groups of that address, that local address that we're going to put in the cameras and we're going to put in the NVR, the first 3 groups must be exactly the same. In this case, 192.168.1. That's important to know because if you programmed your 2040, its IP address 192.168.3 something, guess what? It won't talk to this network at all. It will not communicate. You've got to match those first 3 groups of the address. So your devices, the new devices you're putting on, are going to be 192.168.1 something. Okay? So one of the things you can do, and what you need to do, is make sure you're not going to duplicate IP addresses. So with the username and password that you have, you would go into the router, and the router, where's the router? The router is the default gateway. Notice that you see here in my Linksys router, it says it's router IP, the local IP address 192.168.1.1. So I'm going to go to Internet Explorer, and I'm going to type in http://192.168.1.1. Up comes the username password challenge from the router. I put that information in. Then I'm going to start seeing screens like this, and I'm going to look for the DHCP server. And here you see it. DHCP server is enabled, and its starting address is 1.100. It issues 3 addresses, so it's going to issue 1.100, 1.101, and 1.102. Those addresses, we do not want to put those addresses in our cameras or in our Nuo 2040. Those are reserved for the DHCP users. we have the availability of a total in a Class C network of 254 addresses. The valid addresses in this last box right here can be from .1 to .254. So we got 254 addresses. The only ones we can't use are from 1.100 to 1.102 and 1.1, which is the router's address. It's important to note here that whatever IP addresses you select for your cameras and for your NVR, your 2040, it doesn't matter if the numbers are high or low. They're all equivalent. It's not better to have a lower number or a higher number in that address range from 1 to 254. Just make sure you're not duplicating the address on the local network.